The Supreme Court continues to dismantle the administrative state, to seize the reins of power that never really was bestowed to them in the first place. That doesn't matter. They're going back on everything they promised in their confirmation hearings, because corporate power and the like. And the next thing that they're taking aim at is voting rights. So the Supreme Court announced on Thursday that it's going to hear a case that could give way more power to states when it comes to holding elections. Now that means that basically the Trumpian power grab that we saw attempted in 2020, that could become a whole lot easier. So the case, Moore versus Harper, involves North Carolina's congressional map, which was drawn by Republican-controlled state legislatures and which the state Supreme Court struck down as racially discriminatory. But in March, SCOTUS rejected requests by Republican officials in North Carolina and Pennsylvania to restore GOP rigged maps in a 6-3 ruling in favor of replacement maps. Seems like maybe a good thing. The North Carolina replacement map was drawn by a nonpartisan panel of experts and gives Republicans and Democrats 6 likely safe seats, while 2 more will be competitive. But at issue is the independent state legislature theory, which the Brennan Center for Justice describes as baseless, a baseless concept making the rounds in conservative legal circles. This theory, thus far dismissed by courts as a fringe constitutional theory, argues that state legislatures have special authority to set federal election rules. States set federal election rules, free from interference from other parts of the state government, such as state courts and governors. This special authority, according to the ISL theory, means that only state legislatures can draw new congressional districts, and any map passed by state judicial system is unconstitutional. So basically legislators are sidelining the judiciary in order to draw these maps. Now, I know a lot of us are thinking, weren't they already doing that? Yeah, but a lot of that, as we saw in North Carolina, was deemed illegal, racially discriminatory. And how can a bunch of partisan hacks, if you have a Republican-controlled state legislature, draw what is supposed to be an even playing field for democracy? They can't, but this independent state legislature theory, which is fringe, but now we've got a fringe Supreme Court, is bubbling back up. So everything fringe this court loves, they live for fringe. Mallory McMorrow on Twitter is clarifying a little bit of what this means. So if the court applies this theory, because Republicans control both legislative houses in 30 states, including swing states like here in Michigan, it allows them, and only them, the ability to choose how an election is decided, run, and what the districts look like. If this, it's just choosing your own voters. If the Supreme Court enshrines ISLT, it means Trump's Republican Party won't need a coup after the election to install him as president in 2024. They can just change the rules in swing states ahead of time to ensure they get the outcome that they want. And again, this is gerrymandering on a federal level. This is gerrymandering for presidential elections, right? When we think of gerrymandering, we think of the House and the ways that those kinds of congressional lines are drawn. This would be everything. Ken Klippenstein, obviously friend of TYT, writes, looks like the Supreme Court is trying to finish what Trump started. And it's true. And honestly, and this is the thing that I feel like, and I hope to get more insight in from the January 6th commission, Brett, but it's like, I think Trump ultimately was saying that he wanted to get this case to go to the Supreme Court, as it did in the year 2000 between Bush and Gore. But he wanted this Supreme Court that he installed to basically hand him the election. And like we've been saying, even these Republicans who say no, the 2020 election wasn't stolen, they are currently enacting these reforms to make sure you can steal an election in the future.
Because this is all the plan, and we talk about when we talk about the gerrymandering having to do with state representatives and your House of Representatives, it's all the same people drawing those maps, and they do it every 10 years as a result of. So there's key moments, and the reason that Brad Raffensperger is like, you can't do it this way,
right?
In part is because they're so close to doing it the other way. Trump wants the quick and dirty way. As as Lindsey Graham admitted to AOC on Twitter, we won a bunch of local races and that allowed us to get this game done. I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna have my Katie Porter moment about how the state legislatures are the key to everything. Now, I'm gonna take you to St. Brennan Center, did a study.
The Brennan Center.
The Brennan Center. So here's 2012, 2016, the percent of the vote that they got in that state and the percent of the seats they ended up with in that state. So in 2012, in states where the Republicans controlled redistricting, this is Republicans draw the lines, here are the results. Their candidates won in 2012, 53% of the vote.
I love this.
Their party got 72% of the seats. The 53% of the people voted for Republicans translates into a super majority, okay?
Where are we again? Congress?
This is in states in 2012, where the state legislature, because the state legislature is gonna draw the map for everybody. So that's why the Republicans, with a lot of money and a lot of time, because it was at the time 7-2 that they lost Roe versus Wade, and subsequently everything that got overturned this week. They're like, we're gonna play the long game. And if we can, in a crucial year following a census, win 53% of the vote, we could turn it into 72% of the seats. That's a super majority. You can do anything, and you only won by 53. This is when they win the majority, because the districts are the same for that decade. In 2016, Republicans won 48% of the seats. Or no, let's see, what's next? In 2016, they won 49% of the seats. They won less than the majority. They should not have half the seats because they didn't get half the votes. But in that year, 55% of the seats. So now democracy is exaggerated here. They still won most of the votes. They got a lot more, but it's exaggerating democracy. This is when democracy is broken. When most of the people want one thing and the other thing happens. Now, we're familiar with this because the Electoral College does the same thing. And all of this is the same dynamic where Republicans get less of the votes, but due to the insane amount of money their corporate interests pour into it to not only convince people to vote corporately, but also to vote biblically, because that's cheap and easy to message.
Yep.
As a result of that, all of democracy is broken. And it comes back to this case here, which will enshrine it completely. This broken system, which is happening in, this is not 2016, in Wisconsin, Republicans won 45% of the votes in the state legislature, and they currently hold 52% of the seats.
Insane. And that's the other thing is like even the advances that Democratic voters make in these what are arguably purple states, they still get represented by Republicans, right? And so, and again, we're sort of taught that like, no, it's red or blue, it's red or blue, and no, it is. There's way more purple to go around, but there is not the representation to actually have people's voices heard.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.